Welcome to the ChessMate-ink channel. So far, we've learned how each piece moves. Today, we'll explore two of the most important special rules in chess: castling and pawn promotion. We already know how the king moves. The king is slow and heavy. It can move only one square in any direction. But it's also the most valuable piece in the game. Because when the king is checkmated, the game is over. So it's both precious and limited in movement. That's why chess gives the king a special move called castling. Let's look at our board. We'll play with the white pieces. Both white and black kings and rooks are in their starting positions. Here, we'll learn step by step how to castle. Castling is a special move that involves both the king and the rook. Normally, the king moves only one square, but during castling, the king moves two squares to the side, and the rook jumps over it to stand right next to the king. This coordinated movement happens only during castling. The purpose of castling is to move the king away from the center for safety, and to bring the rook closer to the center to join the game faster. Although two pieces move during this process, it counts as a single move. There are two types of castling in chess: short castling and long castling. In short castling, the king moves two squares to the right, and the rook jumps over to stand beside it. In long castling, the king moves two squares to the left, and the rook moves three squares to stand next to it. However, there are some important conditions for castling. Rule 1. Neither the king nor the rook may have moved before. If either of them has moved, castling on that side is no longer possible. Rule 2. There must be no pieces between the king and the rook. If there are, you must clear the way before you can castle. Rule 3. The king cannot be in check. If the king is under attack, castling is not allowed. But once the threat is gone, castling becomes possible again. Rule 4. The king may not pass through or land on a square that is under attack. If any of the squares the king crosses are threatened, castling on that side is forbidden. Sometimes, this means you can only castle on one side. Castling is a very special move that each player can perform only once per game. Now that we understand castling, let's move on to pawn promotion. Pawns are like brave soldiers. They always move forward and never backward. But what happens when a pawn reaches the last rank? In that case, it doesn't leave the board. Instead, it promotes. That means it can transform into any piece except the king: a queen, rook, bishop, or knight. Which piece it becomes is entirely up to you. Most players choose the queen because it's the most powerful piece. However, in some situations, promoting to a knight or another piece can be strategically stronger. And yes, a player can have more than one queen. In theory, if you promote all your pawns, you could have up to 9 queens on the board. That's why reaching the final rank can completely change the course of the game. Now you know the rules of castling and pawn promotion. Castling protects your king and activates your rook. Pawn promotion turns a small soldier into the most powerful piece on the board. Let's end with a great saying about castling. Delaying castling is a crime in chess. So make sure to castle at the right moment. In the next lesson, we'll learn what checkmate means and how the game ends. To keep improving your chess skills, don't forget to move on to the next video and subscribe to the channel. ChessMate-ink wishes you chess-filled days.